Our next session, we are honored to showcase a pioneer in computer-based career exploration who created CHOICES Choices in the late 1970s, an online career exploration and planning system used by over 90% of Canada's secondary and post-secondary schools, and thousands more in the United States and beyond. He has 5 decades of experience coordinating national and international not-for-profit initiatives to help young people imagine and prepare for successful adult lives. He is Mr. Phil Jarvis representing Canada. His session title is Reimagining Education Through a Life-Readiness Lens. Hello, Phil. How are you?
Hello, Anusha. I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Your stage is yours, Phil. We've been waiting for you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, thank you. Here we go. So it's such a pleasure to be, it's really a huge honor to be with all of you today as we collectively imagine or reimagine what education can be in the future. I have to admit, I'm having a little trouble opening up my PowerPoint here. Just give me 2 seconds and I'll be right with you.
That's okay, Phil. Take your time. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. There, I think we're going to be fine now. So have you let me share my screen here, Anusha?
Yeah, sure. Let me help you.
Okay, thank you.
We do have enabled sharing. Share. Okay. Can you try now, Phil? Is it possible for you to try now?
Yes, just give me 2 seconds here,
No
and
worries.
we will be all set to go. There, are we seeing a screen saying Reimagining Education?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, let me get down here. Stop video. We're going to go a little bigger. Sorry, Anusha.
That's
okay. Now I think we're going to be okay here. 24 is not 24. Yeah, let's go here. Share.
Yep, we can
How
see
are
it.
we doing? Okay, that's good to see. So again, thank you very much. It's a huge honor to be with so many education reimagineers on this special event, and hats off for creating it, Anusha, Gavin, and everyone else. I'd like to start off. I mean, look at those images there on the screen, and think back to when you were in primary or secondary school, and see if you see yourself in any of those faces, okay? Now, as you do that, I'm going to go on a little bit here and ask, what is success for educators? When asked their highest priority, most educators will say it's really all about student success. I mean, that's what we're here for. That's what I've committed my teaching profession to. And when asked for the goal of education, educators will answer some variation, almost always, of to help students reach their full potential. Now, what they really mean is success in school and reach their full potential in academic, their full academic potential. Educators believe in their hearts, and having been there, I know that education is the key to success in life. And they're right. But what should be learned? Is it just academic curriculum? Are they the keys, the only keys? Traditional current curriculum succeeds at preparing teachers for traditional educational settings at all levels, including university. It does not prepare students headed elsewhere in life as well. So again, you've seen those images on the screen. See if you can relate to to any of those personally. I'm going to keywords meaning sharing. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to stop to share, and I'm going to have to start to share again.
That's okay.
With a different image. There we go. And make that a full screen. And so imagination seems to be, and you're going to hear throughout this presentation, I'm all about imagination. I think it's a uniquely human superpower. Everything humankind has ever created began in one person's imagination, whether it was a poem, a love letter, a family, a community, a business plan, a constitution for a country, fashion, the Magna Carta, a country, started as in imagination, became a collective imagination. A war, imagine starting a war. When two or more people share a vision, it gathers strength. When the world buys in, the power is exponential. You get things like the United Nations, the Sustainable Development Goals, and education influence. Plants lean towards that which gives them life. It's called the heliotropic effect. Humans lean towards images that give them hope. I'll just give you a short anecdote. I was fortunate enough to travel to Romania a number of times in the 1990s on World Bank missions. And on one morning, a group of colleagues and I headed out from Bucharest on our way to Constanța on the Black Sea coast. And that, by the way, is not far south of Odessa, Ukraine. On the way out, we saw miles and miles and miles, as far as the eye could see, sunflowers. And the sunflowers were all looking towards the east. They were looking at the sun as it was coming up over the eastern horizon. And then at the end of a long day, wonderful day actually on the seacoast, as we were coming back to Bucharest, we saw all of the same sunflowers, but every single one of them, as far as you could see, was now facing the west and the setting sun. What I see, instead of sunflowers, I see all of our faces in this conference looking towards a new, more hopeful vision of education. And the result can be world changing. I'm going to just, pre-pandemic, 2 in 5 school leavers, even those with degrees, failed to transition smoothly from school to a good job. Many began their career unemployed or in precarious, low-wage, no benefits jobs, unrelated to their studies and interests, and with a sinking feeling that they may have been led astray and were not ready for life beyond school. Those who graduate into underemployment are 5 times more likely to remain stuck in mismatched jobs after 5 years, compared with those who start in jobs that align with their education and interests. 10 years later, 3/4 of workers unemployed or underemployed at the 5-year mark have not progressed. Many, in fact, worry that they may never find a good job, pay down student debt, buy a house, a car, or build a family and the life their parents and society expect them to. So you see at the top of the screen on the left, a failed launch of a rocket. And that, to me, a report in 2013 from Georgetown University called Failure to Launch talked about this phenomenon of 40% of our young people not transitioning smoothly from school to the rest of their lives. Failure to launch from school to a good career is usually regarded as a personal failure. one brought about by a lack of self-discipline, poor planning, or an overall sense of entitlement. You've heard that word so many times about, the young generations. In most cases, the cause is inadequate life readiness. Life-ready students leave high school with a sense of direction and purpose, and the confidence, resilience, and perseverance to achieve their goals. Failure to graduate life-ready students is a societal issue, and it impacts every one of us. The impacts include lost productivity and economic activity, competitiveness, but those are the financial issues. Worse are the human issues, stress, the mental health challenges, family and community cohesion issues, which impact entire communities and create an anchor for prosperity and in any community. In my mind, the solution is a reimagined education system that produces graduates who step confidently and purposefully from high school to post-secondary studies, employment, and other life roles. To achieve this, schools must not only be for students, but about them and by them, guided by liberated teachers and administrators. Preschool children use their imagination to role play adults. They're nurturing dolls, driving toy trucks, playing cops and robbers, being superheroes, nursing. In school, they are admonished to stop daydreaming and focus on the day's prescribed learning objectives. But dreams are the fuel of creative brains and an essential form of planning. And we don't have much control over our night dreams, so daydreams are the only place we can. Reimagining education is an exercise in daydreaming, and it's one in which all of us are engaged right now, and so many others are around the world. Recent advances in neuroscience tell us that for learning to be meaningful and retained, it must be emotionally relevant and personal. Acknowledging and encouraging kids' dreams about their future career and life roles, however transient, fanciful, or unattainable they may seem to adults, makes school personal and unlocks students' creativity. Being told you can never be whatever, or that you will never make it through university kills creativity and hope, and often becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Rather than nurturing creativity, dogged adherence to curriculum stifles it. The most watched TED Talk ever is the late Sir Ken Robinson's Do Schools Kill Creativity? He makes a very convincing case that in many cases they do. Nearly 80% of primary students are emotionally and intellectually engaged in school in the early years because it's fun. By high school, engagement in academics plummets to somewhere between 30 and 40% typically, and school has become work. Without personal context, not many students see relevance in factoring polynomials or memorizing Shakespeare. Most students eventually give up asking why they must learn the curriculum, and on blind faith, but without heart, do their best to live up to their teachers' and parents' expectations. Among those whose engagement wanes most are students with high creative and entrepreneurial potential, our future job and wealth creators. With artificial intelligence, smart machines, and robots replacing humans in predictable, repetitive tasks, the uniquely human capacities for imagination, empathy, creativity, social and emotional intelligence are final frontiers for humans. Imagination and creativity are the lifeblood of an innovative society. They're a natural resource, but unlike other natural resources, they are expandable and renewable resources. Adolescents' minds have the innocence, naivete, curiosity, emotional and social drive to imagine and explore solutions beyond the imaginations of many adults, solutions that can transform communities and are, I believe, our best hope to save the planet. When the curriculum addresses students' dreams, it becomes personally relevant. Imagine a student who wants to reduce the income gap and make wealth distribution more equitable. Teaching her the power of algebra in this context becomes extremely meaningful to her. Imagine connecting an aspiring writer with some of history's most influential storytellers. When learning is connected to students' dreams, engagement and motivation, and creativity flourish, and young plastic adolescent brains grow. Students have years to decide calling. In fact, before they decide to go into teaching, they will probably have spent up to 16 years in the teaching environment. So they know whether that's their place or not. They have few role models and rare opportunities to learn about myriad other. So students see teachers every day. They have very few opportunities and very few role models to learn about any of the myriad other career paths available, and which we desperately need many of them to follow to save our planet and create great lives for themselves. In the absence of more viable career navigation clues, students make post-secondary choices based on school subject preferences. They're encouraged to, but the rigid, timeless taxonomy of academic silos bears scant resemblance to the diversity, complexity, promise, and chaos of change in work and life roles beyond school. Most students are in classrooms from primary school until they enter the workforce. Those who choose teaching as a career simply return to a familiar setting at the very front of the class, as opposed to pretty close to the front of the class where they probably spent most of their academic career. Those who choose other career paths aren't as fortunate. In fact, school is designed, if we look hard at it, school is designed to prepare students for university, not for workforce and not for life. Students receive persistent cues from teachers, counselors, and parents not to settle for anything less than university. This well-intentioned advice is based on deeply ingrained but increasingly flawed perceptions of the relationship between lifetime earnings, status, lifestyle, and job satisfaction. It leaves many young adults in debt and no closer to a good job. Many university graduates eventually feel compelled to return to community college, vocational school, apprenticeships, or industrial certification programs to earn credentials that do open doors to good in-demand jobs, since university didn't for them. A report that came out just this year in May from Civic Council and CCD was called Educating Future-Ready Students, subtitle A Policy Framework to Bridge Social and Emotional Learning and Career and Workforce Development. Civic is a not-for-profit organization that wants to help change across community life. CASEL is the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. In fact, initially coined the phrase social and emotional learning. And CCD is the Coalition for Career Development. They've identified future-ready skills that they believe are essential for all young people as they exit education. And those are the ability to communicate and collaborate effectively. Knowing how to cultivate relationships with mentors and other allies, potential allies, developing and sustaining a sense of purpose and belonging. Obviously, being mentally and physically healthy, and being civically engaged and culturally respectful and responsive. Now, those I don't think you would have found in too many of the exams you took going through the education system, and may get some short shift in curriculum, but these are identified as those skills that are critical going forward. And so you can see that that's a little different than mastery of just the academic silos. If K-12 students get career help, it's usually in the form of periodic self-assessments of interests, of personality type or values. It could be some resume preparation or academic guidance. But career development is misunderstood. It's not point-in-time decision-making to choose one's path for life. You know, young people are constantly asked, what will you be when you grow up? As if at some point in time, they'll be able to answer that question, put a label on their forehead, I'm a, whatever it might be, and that riddle, the riddle of life, is solved. Not so. Career development really is a lifelong collaborative learning quest supported by coaches, loved ones, friends, and allies to construct one's best possible future. It's a quest to be the most and happiest we can be while being equipped and ready to adapt to the good and bad that blindside all of us throughout life. I firmly believe, the best preparation for a great career and life is a personalized, community-based, collaborative, project-based school system that continuously challenges students to address real-world problems that they care deeply about, and graduates genuinely life-ready young adults. And young kids, no matter how young, do care deeply about homeless pets and homeless people and plastics in the ocean and the environment and old people dying in dignity with people they love around them and so on. So until we actually, you know, often we sit people down in front of computer systems and then we say, throw in your interests and aptitudes, you'll come out with a list of occupations. Once you've zeroed down to the perfect occupation, you can find all the education and training programs and then get on with it. But it's not that simple. And until we actually experience work environments firsthand and meet people doing what we imagine ourselves doing in the future, our career decisions are speculative and largely uninformed. Just for a young person having an opportunity to sit down with and talk with somebody who is now doing what they dream about doing in the future is far more valuable than all the research and labor market information systems and whatever that we now try to help students with. Too many students succumb to pressure to declare an arbitrary major when they regret their choice, and then regret their choice after amassing debt and investing precious months or years of their life. The stress on young people now to pick the perfect major and make those huge decisions early in life is unbelievable, and the costs are quite unbelievable as well. Collaborative, community-based experiential learning projects starting in preschool in conjunction with job shadows, internships, co-op placements, apprenticeships, part-time and summer jobs, and volunteering later on throughout the educational journey help students acquire knowledge, skills, attitudes, and character, and relevant experience to inform their learning, career, and and life decisions. Exams are non-collaborative projects imbued with stress and fear for most. Fear of failure or embarrassment may compel rote learning. I know I always left at the last minute and memorized the heck out of the material and could keep it in my head long enough to regurgitate it for the exam unless it was delayed. But an awful lot of it didn't stick. So you can compel rote learning, but the fear of failure and embarrassment impede authentic learning and brain development. On the other hand, positive brain states in supportive, friendly, and cooperative groups increase memory retention along with pleasure, motivation, perseverance through challenges, and resilience to setbacks. In most cases, the only genuinely collaborative school activities are extracurricular, and they are not graded. They're not considered important enough. With academics, it is every student for themselves at test time. Old school teachers see their classroom as their fiefdom, avoiding, if they can, collaboration with other teachers, let alone students and parents. I know that's changing. It's changing radically, and amazing teachers all over the world are collaborating like never before. Happiness and fulfillment throughout our lives depend on successfully balancing many concurrent collaborative projects, like, for example, marriage and life partnerships, parenting, working, playing, clubs, sports, community groups, meaning making of every kind. In fact, unless you're meditating or sleeping, you're probably involved in a collaborative activity of one form or another. To prepare students for a lifetime of collaboration, public education should be framed in learning projects with real life themes, not subjects. The focus should be on issues students generally want to help solve, if possible in concert with other students and community partners of diverse ages, ethnic and cultural backgrounds, and viewpoints in their community, and without much difficulty now in the digital age with collaborators around the world. Fully engaged student brains master academics sooner and better. They also become proficient with the social emotional competencies they will need as adults through the collaboration process. Armed with these competencies and with confidence and purpose, students become solutioneers, helping solve real and pressing problems in their family, their school, their community, and in our troubled world, now and lifelong. H.B. Gillette, pictured here, was a good friend and a trusted mentor throughout most of my career. He was best known for his books on career decision and speeches and presentations and teaching on career decision-making based on positive uncertainty. How can we be certain about an uncertain future? But how can we be positive as we're uncertain? In a posthumous blog entitled Rehearsing the Future, HB says, "The future hasn't happened and it never will. Once it arrives, it becomes the present and then the past. However, I believe it is possible to say that your image of your future before it happens is a very important factor in determining what it will be. What you do now makes a difference in your future. Doing nothing also makes a difference. What you do and don't do counts, and it depends on what you believe." Collaborative project-based learning is doing something meaningful now and throughout the entire educational journey. And as HB said so insightfully, it is in fact rehearsing for the future. We will have arrived at an education system reimagined through a life readiness lens, when essential elements of traditional academic curriculum have been absorbed into collaborative learning projects, and school is an ongoing series of concurrent, meaningful, collaborative learning projects from kindergarten to 20 years plus beyond. If aspects of the current curriculum do not fit in the context of real-world issues students care about, they should be discarded. I know that's provocative, but I mean it. Students with a personal interest can delve into them when and if it suits them anytime for the rest of their lives. If they're only in the curriculum as a prerequisite to a university program most students will never attend, they should be addressed in collaborative, community-based learning projects at university. Students can learn, I sincerely believe that students can learn everything they need to be ready for post-secondary learning pathways, purposeful employment, and a happy, fulfilling adult life through active participation in learning projects that address the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. I truly hope you're familiar with these. These are the big ideas, the existential issues the entire world needs to address urgently. They're applicable in every community in the world and relevant to all ages. The SDGs have their roots in the Earth Summit in June 1992 in Rio de Janeiro, and Agenda 21 that was signed there by 178 countries. Imagine representatives of 178 countries and their entire networks all imagining a brighter future for Earth and how we might get there. 13 years and much collective global imagination later, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development was adopted by the UN General Assembly in New York in 2015, giving us 15 years to reach 2030. Now we're just a little over 7 years away from that target now, and it is absolutely amazing what has been mobilized around this globe around those goals, but it's not enough. Still, if we mobilize the imagination, creativity, and innocence of the world's youth, they will surely be able to bring our precious jewel of a blue planet back from the brink of extinction to which older generations, like mine, have led us. Please, I implore you, encourage educators from preschool to university to design learning projects around the SDGs most relevant to their community. Pick any goal on the screen here, and you can imagine local contexts and issues that need to be addressed. So if it's no poverty, zero hunger, decent work and economic growth, affordable and clean energy, it really doesn't take much brainstorming with a group of people locally to come up with the issues that really are relevant in one's community and then tackle them. And every project will include math, science, communication, probably history, and other geography, but it will do so in authentic, real-world context, and students will likely push themselves farther than the curriculum would have taken them in these subjects. Exceptional learning materials on the goals, including engaging lesson plans, videos, and suggested projects, are all available free at the world's largest lesson. Now, by the way, all of these references that I'm making, every link that I'm showing you, they're all backed up in this presentation. I'll say more on that in a bit later. In addition, of course, education influence, upschool, what school could be, junior achievement, Lions Quest, all of these are associations of Imagineers coming together to try and imagine, then plan and create and deliver, work towards a better future, for not only for young people, but for all of us on the planet. There are many others and many networks and many resources for teachers who want to equip their students to be solutioneers, even at the kindergarten level, and certainly as they come out of high school and post-secondary. Solutioneers will be valuable to their own families, to their communities, to the employers that they work for, and will make a difference in this world. So the references I mentioned are included in this PowerPoint, which I expect will be available to you through the conference website. Is that
Yes,
fair,
yes,
Anusha?
yes, it is.
Thank you very much. As long as you cite your source, I encourage you to use this PowerPoint as is or modify it as much as you want to better address your own realities. So when life readiness actually becomes the goal, the raison d'etre of education, all students will be engaged and comfortable in school and life as Beth. Of course, the girl highlighted in the front row, who's obviously loving where she is and what she's doing, and she's fully engaged and confident and looking forward to her future. Like sunflowers, all of these faces will be focused on the teacher or on the issue they're rolling up their sleeves together to solve. They won't be falling asleep, they won't be drifting, they won't be daydreaming. They will be focused on the task, and the task will be how they can make the world better. By the way, the URL for my blog post on this topic is at the bottom left of the screen. You're welcome to look at that at any point. I want to thank you for joining me for this session. A big hats off to Anusha, to Gavin, to the entire Global Education Influence Network of solutioneers, which you truly are. At this point, I'd be pleased to address any questions. I've actually kept this relatively short because I hope we can spur some really good conversation from around the world on
Thank
the
you so much,
notion of
Phil.
the.
Thank you for sharing your informative session. And just as you've mentioned, I'd just like to summarize a bit. Traditional education prepares students for exams and more education, but not for life. And too many write their exams, last exams, and submit in their last assignments with no idea what to do next or who needs their talents. And like you mentioned, we must assure that students are prepared to step into adult life with confidence, optimism, and a clear sense of purpose and direction, which brings them joy when they graduate and become engaged global citizens. I do have one question for you. Much attention has been given to summative assessment and memory-based learning, emphasizing knowing rather than doing. What could be the best way of education so that learners can connect themselves to employability and society at large?
Okay, wow, great summary and an excellent question. I think it's really not all that mysterious. Instead of bowing to the god of curriculum and the demands of the curriculum, what we have to cover this month, we really must find out what the students in our class care about. We must be asking them, and we must be listening very, very carefully to the answers. And then as we do that, we'll find that they're all unique, obviously, and they all have their own personal dreams. Some of them incredibly fanciful, but all of them are dreams and all of them are equally powerful. And so we need to respect that, and we need to try and tune the learning projects to issues that the students in the class care about. And so that takes a little bit of designing, I know. And it's uncomfortable territory for teachers who've been comfortable using similar lesson plans for years. But if teachers can just And they know it in their hearts. They know it in their hearts that if they're going to truly reach these kids, they're going to have to truly understand who these kids are and what their dreams are, and then fit the learning projects to issues. I think that the SDGs can be the perfect framework, actually a far better framework than the academic silos we've been using up till now for education, because the SDGs are real and they're in the context of real life. And if teachers don't feel that they're responsible for coming up with the perfect program, that if they can explore with their kids what the projects might be, explore with community partners, explore with parents, you know, what those projects should be, and then grow. The educators don't have to have all the answers. In fact, if all goes well in this new model, teachers will be learning as quickly as students are learning about new things they hadn't thought about before, because they weren't in the textbooks and they weren't in the curriculum. So it really comes down to, it has to be about doing, it has to be about hands-on and experiential, but in the context of issues students actually care about. And you can't do that until you ask them and listen hard to the answers and dialogue with them about, on this learning journey that we're on to prepare you for the best possible life for you, how can I help you? And what is it you care about? And how can we dig in deeper collectively on issues? See, this SDGs are not individual dreams. They are challenges, problems that we actually must solve if we're going to have a sustainable planet and sustainable social systems where it's not this tribe against that tribe, and it is really about kindness, caring, consideration, and trying to make life as good as possible for everyone. Now that's a bit of a rambling answer, and please focus me if I can bring that closer to home for you. But I think the answer is, you don't have to figure out what you have to do with the students. Do it with the students. Don't do it for the students, and do it with other teachers, and do it with community partners who are very involved with the issues that you're talking about in the classroom, and make it as real as possible.
Thank you.
At all ages. I mean, at all ages.
Thank you
we
so
all
much.
Still like role play.
Thank you for explaining it in a such simpler way for us to understand. Thank you so much. And we have so many messages for you. And Lauren writes, thank you. This is unbelievably valuable in reimagining our education system. I'm so excited about the contributions towards this. Thank you for the great presentation, thematic, individualized, and collaborative learning. The future is bright.
Oh, that warms my heart. Thank you.
And Aria Antonio writes, how can we motivate learners to have this mentality for learning, especially if they are from third world countries whose priority is survival?
Well, that becomes survival becomes the priority of the projects that you're taking on in the learning context. There's no point in teaching people about world history or geography of the rest of the planet until you can deal with the bottom of the pyramid, those basic survival issues. So how can all of the students in a classroom, how can the school itself, how can the community pull together to address some of those survival issues, whether it's clean water, whether it's safety, whatever the issue is, that has to be the focus. And when it becomes the focus, and it's hopeful, and you're searching for solutions, you're not just lamenting the problems and complaining about the problems and pointing fingers at other people, but taking responsibility together for coming up with new ways, imagining new ways of doing things that will be better for everyone in the community, certainly everyone in the class, but everyone in the community. And then just ignite those young brains. They're so plastic, they're capable of so much. I mean, young kids can become incredible pianists at ages 5, 6, and 7. I mean, if the dream is clear enough and the desire is strong enough, or the problem is pressing enough, it's amazing. It's amazing what people can learn, and we don't give young kids nearly enough credit. In many cases, they'll come up with solutions that we've given up on, or we've just said, no, that's just not the way it is. We're not going to buck the unions. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. We've just, you know, kind of laid down the flag on some of those issues. Kids don't. They're idealistic. And if we can focus their energies towards, honestly, towards new solutions, and then work hard to help them implement those solutions, that's the only way to engage them. You certainly can't get them memorizing, you know, preparing for spelling bees if they're worried about whether they're going to arrive at school alive or with hunger in their belly.
Thank you so much, Phil. We're going to showcase Phil's presentation on our platform with his presentation and a forum for all of you to discuss. But is there a link for anybody? Is there a link, Phil, for you to share with everybody so that they can view your work? Maybe your website?
Yes. Yes, there is. I'll just tell you what it is.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. In the meantime, I'm going to share you a message from Abdi Qadir Ismail. He says, thank you, Jarvis, for reaffirming what many of present-day educators believe in. He's from Kenya.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
And yeah.
The link, let's just go here. So.
And Alexander from Ghana says, fantastic, Jarvis. Thank you very much for your educational presentation.
Oh, thank you. Very nice. Down at the bottom of the screen now, my website is just philjarvis.ca, CA for Canada. I'm coming from Atlantic Canada to you right now, and it's still dark here, by the way.
I've written it for everyone. Everybody, it's philjarvis.ca if you'd like to connect with Phil more. You could also connect with him through Education Influence. And Richard from Uganda writes, thanks, Jarvis, for presentation. The biggest challenge we have with most of our education systems is assessments. Teachers tend to focus on preparing the students to score highly in summative assessments and forget about the main goal of education. What is your advice on assessments?
Relax. Relax on the assessment. The assessments aren't that important. Once students graduate, no one will ever ask them what their mark was in anything or care. It's going to be, do they look each other in the eye? Are they hopeful? Do they feel confident? It's not about assessment. Don't worry about that. Take the pressure off students, take the pressure off yourself. It's about creating real situations. How do you measure hope? How do you measure confidence? How do you measure excitement about the future on an exam? You can't access it. But when you get involved in projects, and with all of these projects the students take on, they have to present their solutions. So they stand up, they create PowerPoints, they create Instagrams, they explain what they're doing. And you can tell when these kids stand up and talk about what they're going to do about hunger, what they're going to do about waste disposal, what they're going to do about plastics and single-use this and that. You can see in their eyes that they see a solution. They're excited. They're taking it on. They're into it. That's far more important than the difference between 75% and 82% or 43% on any exam. So this whole fixation on curriculum and on preparing for exams, and even teachers saying students to hook them so they will actually pay attention, saying this will be on the exam. That's crazy. That's not learning. That's just teachers and students playing the system, and the system is broken and it's not working. So my answer, in Uganda or anywhere else would be relax on the written exam assessments, or these are just ways to prove the system is doing what it's supposed to be doing. It has nothing to do with preparing kids for the rest of their lives. So keep it real, and your assessment should be the excitement you see in kids' eyes and the engagement you see in the projects and the way they interact with each other respectfully, empathetically. Those are the measures that really count.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you. Lily Ann Kregler from Australia writes, thank you for your passion and forward thinking. It's an inspiration to listen to you.
Oh, that's good to hear. Thank you.
Phil, I would like to take this opportunity because I'm saying that we only have 7 minutes, but I would not like to waste that 7 minutes. I would like to ask you another question. The question is, how do you ensure problem-based education, just like you mentioned about STTs? How do you ensure problem-based education rather than knowledge for knowledge's sake? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you can tell when you're doing real world education when students stop saying, why do we need to learn this? Because every teacher has heard that often enough. Why do I need to learn this? I don't see any connection between this and my dreams. But problem-based also makes it sound very negative. If you focus on solution-based, solutioneering, how are we going to contribute to making the world better? How can we make things better for people in our community, in our province or state, in our country, and in the globe? Kids, well, people of all ages will rise to that. There's nothing I love more than what we're doing right here. Getting together people who are focused on trying to make things better and sharing ideas about that. And you know, like the sunflowers, we're all trying to focus on a better future that we can, that is achievable and reachable. So it's not on the black clouds of the problem of hunger or the problem of income distribution or inequity or injustice or discrimination. All of those things. Those are terrible and they are black clouds, but we need to be looking at the silver lining. How are we going to make it better? And we can. If we all put our heads together, engage our imaginations, and really give it everything we've got, we're going to come up with some new ways that make our little of the corner of the planet a little bit better. And if the ideas are good enough, they'll spread like grass fire and become networks like Education Influence. Really, I think it's, you know, you have to instruct kids of all ages on what these goals are. What are the 17 goals? And let's look into each of them. There are amazing resources to do that. And then find the things that kids care about the most. That's the key. It's not even what's the most serious problem, your judgment. It's what do the kids care about most and where do they want to put their energy in trying to come up with a better way of doing things. So focus on that. I call it project-based, not problem-based, because, you know, we're focusing on the positive solutions, not how awful you know, it is right now and all the reasons and who's to blame and all of that. It's you know, it's hard. I guarantee for teachers who are locked into a system that expects them to deliver educational content, prescribed educational content every week, have excellent exam results, you know, wherever the exams come up, and you want to go off on a tangent and solve some world problem. But really the whole system has to lighten up. We all learn best when we're engaged, when we're having fun, not when we're being forced to put our heads down and so on. So literally the whole system just has to lighten up. The tests and the curriculum are not nearly as important as these big challenges we're facing around the world. And that's what we all need to be focusing on.
Thank you. Thank you, Phil. Thank you for your amazing session. Thank you. It was very, 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 very fruitful. Thank you so much for joining us for Education Influence Global Conference. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been amazing being with you all here, and I can't wait to hear other speakers.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you so much.